With fighters looking at a possible fight between Shakur Stevenson and Gervonta Davis, quite a few pros think that Shakur will be a problem for Gervonta. When Claressa Shields gave her opinion on Gervonta Davis, Shakur Stevenson, and Devin Haney, she didn't think that anyone could compare to Shakur. Claressa stated, Shakur would come out on top. You can say it's out of Shakur and Devin or out of Shakur and Tank. Devin and Shakur are great boxers, phenomenal boxers, but Tank is just knocking dudes out left, right, and center. But let's be honest, in his fights these guys are only landing at 6% against Shakur, while he's landing at over 50%. When you're landing like that and dudes can't hit you back, I think that Shakur's the man. Bob Arum doesn't think that Davis stands a chance against Shakur either. Bob stated, that Davis versus Stevenson is a really interesting fight, but it only ends in one way, and that's with Shakur winning. Terence Crawford didn't have much for words, but the few words he gave showed that he's definitely seeing no chance for Davis. Terence stated, Shakur, hands down. Sean Porter is really excited about the possibility of a fight, and he thinks that Shakur won't have any problems as well. Sean stated, when I look at the way both fighters box, I think it's a match made in heaven. It's the best fight in boxing to be made, and I think it'll happen next year. There's a specific recipe required, I believe, to beat Tank, and I honestly believe that Shakur has the gifts, the talent, the athleticism, everything within that recipe. Teofimo Lopez ranked 3 of the best fighters in the division, and he gave credit to both fighters. Lopez stated, technically wise, it would be Shakur. Power and some speed, it would be Tank. And Devin Haney is the last of the bunch. I think Shakur knows it and Tank knows it too. That's lunch food. Jermell Charlo doesn't think that Davis could handle Haney or Shakur after watching his last fight, and he thinks that Shakur is one of the best right now. Jermell stated, after what I saw, I don't think he can touch Devin Haney. Shakur is gonna beat all of them, I promise. Barry McGuigan is a huge fan of Gervonta and his power, and he thinks that Shakur is the only one in the weight class that could potentially handle Davis. Barry stated, those who said Ryan Garcia quit have never taken a punch. Anyone who's fought at the highest level will know that the kind of body shot thrown by Gervonta Davis in Las Vegas is almost impossible to defend. Garcia was down in the second round to a backhand. He was on top of Davis and got nailed with a short left. It happened and he recovered from that. The shot that ended the fight in the 7th was a short left into the rib cage. It hit him in the floating ribs. There's no protection there. That was my thing. I became an expert at that. A left to the head would raise the opponent's hands, creating a gap of about 4 inches. I would then crash a shot through that gap and they would cave. You need 3 minutes to recover from a punch like that, not 10 seconds. At lightweight, Tank wipes everybody out. Maybe Shakur Stevenson would cope, but I wouldn't give Devin Haney or Vasyl Lomachenko much of a chance. I don't think I've seen a guy like Davis in the lighter divisions with that kind of power. Eddie Hearn can't get enough of Shakur Stevenson too, and he doesn't see anyone being able to beat him. Eddie stated, it's obviously more difficult to make a cross-promotional fight. I don't see Devin beating Shakur. Shakur Stevenson, for me, as fond as I am of Devin Haney, Shakur Stevenson, for me, I think he's unbeatable. I think he's a tremendous talent. He's a little bit stuck in the same bracket as not a huge draw in terms of his ability and in terms of his achievements, but he's outstanding. I don't see anyone beating Shakur Stevenson at 135. He's one of those guys like Loma that's going to get beat by moving through the divisions. Canelo is another good example. Potentially Naoya Inoue. Mike Tyson believes that Gervonta could potentially finish his career undefeated, but he sees Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson as being problems for him. Mike stated, it's a great possibility that Tank Davis could go undefeated his whole career, but then you've got Devin Haney and Shakur. Those guys, they're very good. Those are the only 2 guys who are possibly a threat to him. I know they've boxed before, and some people have the advantage over others in sparring, but sparring's not like fighting. For some reason, people don't fight as hard as they spar, or some people don't train as hard as they fight. It's just a strange dynamic in that. When Shane Mosley gave his opinion on the fighters in the division, he put Shakur above the rest. Shane stated, Shakur, he definitely does everything really, really good. Gives me Pernell Whitaker vibes, very crafty, movement, speed, the power. I think it's Sugar now, right? It's Sugar Shakur. I heard it was Shakur Stevenson. But yeah, he's fantastic. He's smart. His ring IQ. All this stuff is tremendous. Speed, the power's picking up too. It seems to me right now that he's probably the best overall fighter in the division, but I don't know what he's gonna do with Tank, and I'm not sure what he can do with Devin Haney, because Devin's so tall and rangy. It could be the old Vernon Forrest versus Sugar Shane type of thing, I don't know. They all have to get together and fight and see who's the best. Gary Russell Jr. thinks that Shakur could beat every heavy hitter in the division as well. Gary stated, "I feel like Shakur, out of all of them, is the nicest. I feel he can fight better than any of them. He's a young man, he's developing, and went to the Olympics with my younger brother. He was one of the youngest that could come down there and get some sparring and put some work in. I can respect that. I think he's better than Tank. I think he'd beat Tank. I think he'd beat all those dudes." Rolly Romero loves Shakur's ability to put anyone out.
Like, I'll be honest, I used to think Devin Haney was the most boring fighter in the dance sport. But at least Devin Haney tries to knock people out. It's just Devin Haney just has the inferior, genetics, His genetics are beyond horrible with his sloppy legs and his weak body frame and all that stuff, But Shakur, that guy will put anybody to sleep outside the ring. Not inside the ring, because he's the most boring fighter in the history of boxing. And they can say whatever they want, they can hype him up and all that stuff, but I really feel bad for him because there's no way they could put him on pay-per-view. He can't sell a fight.
While Adrian Broner is a huge fan of Davis, he definitely believes that Shakur will be his toughest opponent to date. Adrian stated, "I think Tank has got what it takes to beat them all. That Stevenson will be his toughest match, but I still think Tank would pull it off. I think Tank would find a way to pull it off, even though Shakur is one of the baddest fighters out there. His talent is different. I've seen it firsthand. It's different. It's some different going on with that kid. He's amazing, and I still feel like Tank will put it off." Mikey Garcia likes Shakur's tricks and skills, but he still picks Davis to win. Mikey stated, "At 135, I'd probably still pick Tank just because of that power. Shakur can box and be very elusive and tricky, but so can Tank. Plus, he's got that power where one punch is all it takes. So I'd probably still pick Tank." Kenny Porter thinks that Shakur is so good that Gervonta's only chance is to win by knockout. Kenny stated, "I know that Shakur has the ability to outbox just about anybody on the planet in his weight class. He's got to win by knockout." Of course, Gervonta doesn't think that Shakur would stand a chance either.
Some of your 135 contemporaries have a lot to say these days. Shakur Stevenson, well, of course he's now 135 after all that stuff, and then Devin Haney.
Right, so why people even talk like he the best at, he didn't even fight at 135 yet.
Right.
He didn't even have power at 126, 30 or none of that.
He is good.
Okay. How can you, all that okay. How can you stop people that can actually hit? No matter all that boxing, you gonna get hit. What you gonna do when you get hit?
No one is a bigger supporter of Shakur and Davis fighting than Shakur himself though, and he thinks that the fight would be the biggest in boxing. Shakur stated, "There's only one fight that really interests me. All around boxing, me and Tank will be the biggest boxing fight in the world when it happens. 135 or 140 pounds. I don't know what weight the fight will happen, but not 147 pounds. I can see it happening not too far in the future. I think Tank will sign the contract, and I'm going to sign the contract too. It's going to happen." If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe and check out some of our other videos on the screen right now.